Hey everybody, welcome back to episode 3 of Authentic vs. Recast. Before we jump on in, I want to talk about the amount of people who watched my last video on the Sage Mode Naruto and weren't subscribed. If you look at this, 90.5% people who watched that video were not subscribed. Please take the time, if you're enjoying this series, to do so. That last video had 110,000 views so far, and multiplied that by 90.5%. Let me do some quick math. 99,550 subscribers if everyone would click that button. Now, I know that's not realistic, but you can make a difference if you do so and you're enjoying my content. The statue we're about to take a look at is actually based off one of my original ones that I reviewed a few months ago by Model Palace, Hinata vs. Pain. How I got my hands on the original authentic version is actually a crazy story. Originally, I ordered my statue through a reseller website called FNC or Fanatic Anime, which I will never ever do business with again because what they did is they overbooked pre-orders where they took too many and they didn't have enough in stock, so they had to cancel mine. There's other reasons as well, but I won't go into those details just now. So a very close friend of mine went back to visit his family in Vietnam, and while he was there, he searched around and there was actually one for sale, and it was $500. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I think the original was like $350 or $380, and I'm gonna have to pay this upcharge amount to get it, but I did not want to miss it. At the expense of ticking off his wife, he actually brought it back to the United States as one of his kind of carry-on luggages, and I am super thankful that he did because it is one of my favorite original authentic pieces that I own. Something funny to point out on the box art is all the multiple photos of Hinata on there are actually a picture of Sume's extra line Hinata and not actually the figure showcased here. Something that's always interesting to see with these recast PVC versions of the resin statues is the resin statues actually come in multiple pieces and parts, the hands, the arms, the joints, the way that everything connects. It's always multiple parts, while when I get these, they're always all put together in almost one piece. Because this is mainly one piece, I'm going to go ahead and do things a bit differently and kind of showcase her on her own, and then we'll go ahead and bring the authentic in and showcase that as well. The rocky part of the base is meant to capture that moment when Hinata jumped into battle to kind of save Naruto, palm strike the ground, and created that sort of effect. Right off the bat, I can tell you that the rocks on the base did not have multiple layers of paint that bring a level of realism that we usually see with normal, expensive, high-end statues. Now on the bottom there's also some glue residue to where that was adhesively added onto there. But again, the shading of the rocks are just off. They're a bit shiny. There's only that black part of coloration that helped to accent all the different cracks, but it doesn't look as real as when we bring in the authentic. While it doesn't look too bad as far as the overall sculpt and the paint job for the body, I can see some kind of gloss that's on the feet and pants for some reason. The jacket, not so much, but I'm not sure why they chose that sort of glossy paint. Right below her chest, we'll see some sort of white flaw marking. Taking a close-up look at the hair, we can see this was casted in two different parts because of that large, very obvious seam line in the center. To those that aren't that familiar, that little light ring of purple around her head is just the lighting effect that normally is drawn onto her character. Again, we can see a few of the minor paint flaws that exist on this piece. The gray part of her jacket, I feel like was actually very well done with the shading that they added. For some reason, the purple looks like it is missing a bit of shading and it's almost too vibrant. Included as swappable hands are her two twin-line fists. Initial impressions on these is that they actually look really good. Now, the one noticeable thing for me is the fact that this is sculpted in two pieces. You can see a clear, definitive seam line that goes through the center of the mouth all the way to the back. The hands that are sculpted inside are actually pretty solid in there. They're not coming off really easy, which is exactly what you want. As you saw at the end of the hand inside of the twin line fist, these just pop right out and slide right inside of the joint. Some of the comments that I receive when doing these reviews is always, man, I would never pay $500 or $450 or $350 for these kind of authentic pieces. While I get you, it's extremely expensive, you need to understand these are collectible items that are made in limited quantities. Unlike most things that are made of PVC are made by the thousands, these are typically made in the hundreds. Specifically, the authentic version of this one only had 280 made in the entire world. If you consider the whole world's population, that is not many. As you may have seen a moment ago when I shook the figure, it's really solid. Once you get them in place, they don't slip out, fall out. It's a really tight fit. First things first, you will notice the base size is very different and was shrunk down for the recast figure. Now this is for the reason that the one that I own is considered the EX or Deluxe edition that comes with the Naruto that's pinned down by Pain's steel rods. The right authentic also looks like Hinata is standing her ground. The stance is firm, the lion fists are in place, while the left recast almost looks like the lion fist, especially the front one, is out of place and she's almost being pushed back or leaning back. Another difference is the alternative hands for the authentic connect via the shoulder joint, while in the recast they connect with the wrists. Side by side, you can see that these look decently well next to each other. The right authentic, you can see, is a lot more clear, while the left is cloudy looking. Looking at them straight on, they look great, but if you do turn them to the side, again, in the recast, you will see that large seam line, while the original was casted as all one large piece. I was actually expecting the white eye paint job on the recast to be a lot more sloppy, but it's actually tight and clean looking. Because Hinata's base is extremely heavy, I'm going to go ahead and pop the authentic off, which is actually quite difficult. It's very tightly in there, and I want to be careful not to snap the foot while removing it. Before we do a side-by-side comparison, I want you to see a detailed close-up look of the authentic version. What you're going to find all throughout, and every single series, it's kind of going to be this way, but sometimes it's going to range and be different, is the quality of the paint application on the authentic is just so perfection. On the recast, they went for some sort of shading or effect all along her pants rather than somewhat of a solid color, and it looks very strange, while this looks more organic and natural. The light reflecting paint that's also along the rim of her hair, you can see, goes up in waves. It's not just one straight color. The head sculpt on her just looks so gorgeous. It's really spot on to what she looks like in the series. With both side by side, as I mentioned before, you can see the differences in the purple part of the coat in that there's a lot more wrinkles and colorations in this one, while the recast, it does look extremely flat. Also, the differences in the paint coloration for the pants. Both look impressively similar from a back view. You will see the hairline painting on each of them side by side. The other one just looks kind of awkward on the recast, while it does look, again, really natural looking for the authentic. Though Hinata doesn't show much skin in her normal outfit, the skin that is exposed and showing does look very similar compared to the both. One small detail you may not have noticed is the undergarment that Hinata has under her jacket is more defined on the authentic, while on the recast it just looks like a gray blob. Another comment that I have seen frequently is that some of you have the ability and skill to be able to repaint certain things. That is one thing that I wish I was able to do, is confidently be able to repaint something if I'm not happy with the way that it turned out. If anything, I imagine these recasts are perfect opportunities for people that want to work on their repainting skills to be able to do that. As mentioned in the beginning, the authentic version was a deluxe version that comes with this Naruto. Now, these steel rods that are inside of him are actually made of real steel. This is absolutely not a statue that I really look at close up very often because he sits low to the ground, but I really appreciate how much they captured that exact moment when he was pinned down by each joint of his body with the steel rods, and the look that he had on his face of concern as someone that he cared about is about to face off someone that he would deem dangerous or impossible to beat. Now's the time where I love to hear from you. What did you think of these two? How do you think the authentic looks compared to the recast? Now, I know it's not fair when I stick Naruto back there. It's kind of two different statues, but they were taken from each other. You know, how are the lion fists compared to each other? The quality of the paint application, is it worth it? I know the $500 hike, pretty much everyone's gonna agree on that that's not worth it, but that's how much a authentic collectible resin statue costs, just because of the fact that it was hand painted. It's very limited. As I've done in the past, I'm going to be actually giving away the recast version of Hinata. I will communicate whatever the details are for that giveaway in the near future. I haven't decided exactly how to go about that, but please look forward to it in my other videos and also my community posts. Huge and special thanks to those that continue to be members of this channel. Just earlier this week, my members did get an exclusive look at another voice actor that I was able to secure for a future video. To those of you that are members, please do not spoil who that individual was and what character he represents. And for anybody interested in memberships, please watch this video here. As always, everybody, do what you love and love what you do. Bam out.